Ayan, magandang gabi. Magandang umaga na pala. Magandang umaga, ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Ito po ang Luminous. Kamusta po kayo? I know I've been out. Good morning sa lahat na. Dami palang tao. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Ito po ang Luminous and I'm having a bad hair day. So, pasensya na po. So, the whole week, um, we've been looking at, well, of course, there was a vice presidential debate. Pero ang konteksto din ng nitong lahat is there's Russia-Ukraine thing going. Plus, dito naman, nasa kaligitnaan tayo ng election. And ang nakikita natin is, well, some of us, yung iba, hindi cannot catch up with the changing times. And times that are really changing very quickly. So, let's have a look. Hindi pa ako ganun kabihasa doon sa kasaysayan nung sa Russia and Ukraine na pangyayari. But gayon pa man, there appears to be a clamor between the two factions. Of course, there is the Western perspective and then there is the Russian perspective. So makikita natin that there will be two sides of the story at magkasalungat po ito. But what is irrefutable is that Ukraine, who had asked to be included in NATO, has not been included in NATO and is pretty much left to fend for itself kahit na ang ibang mga bansa such as, but not limited to, the European Parliament and of course the usual alliances of the US, Canada, France, and the UK are imposing sanctions on Russia. International relations are always tricky because we cannot impose what we call municipal law on erring countries. So, municipal law is yung mga local laws natin. When we create a law dito sa Pilipinas, it's called municipal law as opposed to international law. Sa atin, ang international law, it's based both on contract, on custom, and basically on diplomacy. So, what we do is we navigate. That's what we always do. Now, what countries do is we navigate yung relations natin with each of the countries in accordance to what will constitute our interest. So clearly, Russia is acting in its own interests, and Ukraine was doing the same thing. The U.S. was doing the same things. Basically, we have all of these countries acting on their own self-interests, pero only one country is basically paying for that. We'll go into a more in-depth thing. Most of the opinions na nakikita natin indicate that Russia and Ukraine share a similar or single cultural background. That is true. However, if I'm not mistaken, in the ninth and up to the 16th century, Ukraine was an empire, a king by itself. So, but later on, the later history indicates that Ukraine and Russia did finally become one, so to speak. So the shared culture and shared history is primarily from the last century and onwards, and a little further back. But they have always been, excuse me, they've always been, well, they do have also their own distinct cultural differences with Russia. So we cannot say that Ukraine and Russia are a single entity. Meron na silang sovereignty, humiwalay na sila. And even prior to the shared history with Russia, they had their own unique culture and their own unique history as Ukraine by itself. So, kumbaga, medyo sweeping in generalizations. Excuse me, nais ko lang ilaw ko. Medyo sweeping in generalizations to say that Russia and Ukraine share the same culture, same history, and so on. That's for the from the past, from the probably the 19th and 20th century, but but not before that. What we do know also is that Ukraine has established itself as a separate and independent country where it used to be one of the Soviet socialist republics. We can't make any other conclusions. Kumbaga, hindi natin pwedeng pilitin yung narrative that they have a shared history and shared culture. Yes, that's true. But it hasn't always been that way, and they indicated already na gusto nilang humiwalay from Russia. So the recent developments, however, also indicate that Russia was acting on its own self-interests because they felt that they were being encroached on already. Pinapaligiran sila. So I think that is also one another reason why they will have to act in this way. The other the other some say it's a pretense, but Russia has also been supporting some of the separatist groups that are in Ukraine, and parang nababawasan sila ng nababawasan ng ng territory. The Crimea, of course, we know was had been taken back by Russia, and referendum had been held after that, where the supposedly the citizens themselves indicated they wanted to return to Russia. Why am I being very neutral about this? Because going either way will not be good for us. We need to understand what's going on, pero mostly kailangan na intindihan din natin kung ano yung repercussions nito sa atin. And ano nga ba ang repercussions? We know primarily tataas ang presyo ng langis, at dahil tataas ito, well, expect all prices to go up. In the time of a pandemic, we can't really afford it. So we have to see what we're going to do in order to survive the what we an impending worldwide crisis when it comes to the to not just the prices of oil, but anything in general. How are we going to react to this? I think the one of the reasons that the candidates are looking at agriculture again is because with no clear end in sight yet dun sa nangyayari sa Russia at sa Ukraine, we need to be able to feed ourselves. So it's time for us to take a long, hard look at our importations policy pagdating dito sa agrikultura. But because we are in the middle of an elections, alam niyo naman dito sa Pilipinas, ang election parang piyesta. And I think it's already a cultural thing because this is the one opportunity na tayo yung tinatanong. Opinion natin ang mahalaga, boto natin yung mahalaga, bigla tayong napapansin. Suddenly, all the politicians are again talking about what they want to do in our own interests, which of course we should only believe for so long. After this, huwag na tayong maniniwala. Alam mo naman natin, maraming very promising sa ating mga politiko. But let's take a close look. Sino ba yung mga intelihente? Sino ba yung meron sinasabi? Sino yung nag-bring up ng magandang ideas? And of course, how is the uni team doing? Well, dinedma nila itong CNN debates, both Inday Sara and of course BBM had, Inday didn't even bother, I think, to make an explanation. BBM said he had previous commitments. And ang nakikita natin is the reaction here ng CNN. They aren't reacting like grown-ups. Para sa akin, medyo petty. Yung tipong they had the portion dun sa kanilang debate kanina, saying na, yun nga, presidential candidate Ferdinand Marcos Jr. could not make it tonight. He would have been standing here at this podium. Talaga they wanted to underscore the fact na wala siya doon. So meron pang this whole introduction na he would have been here, he would have been called now. Ito yung podium kung saan siya tatayo. Really, hindi naman kayo halata masyado niyan, di ba? And then in the course of the debates, napapansin natin, well, of course, the other more significant and more telling thing is that they asked that question, are debates important in the context now of these elections? So, of course, most of the candidates were said, syempre mahalaga because they were at a debate, they were being sponsored by CNN. Kumbaga, they were given a platform by CNN. Alangan man sabihin nila hindi. But of course, there was Dr. Montemayor who said that, well, no, this isn't a real debate, and he is correct. It's not really a debate. It was a forum where people got to talk for a whole of 1.5 minutes to give their side on a particular matter that the hosts were the ones who raised. It was the choice of CNN to determine what the topics were. Also, the unusual behavior of some of the candidates seemed like they were expecting certain questions. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with asking for the questions in advance and giving it. as long as it's transparent. We know that they had anticipated these questions. And did all the candidates anticipate these questions? That's another question. That's another, thing to think about. But in general, I didn't find it very enlightening, except for those who were new. Dr. Montemayor wasn't at the SMNI debate, so it was a good thing to hear from him kasi, well, he was pretty exciting to listen to. Kumbaga, kung may disruptor na Walden Bello during the vice presidential debates, then we had a Dr. Montemayor who was challenging candidate Isko Moreno, and he was also challenging the format, which I find good. When you're not appearing on any of the surveys and you're sometimes not invited because very few people know about your candidacy, then you have to try harder, and try harder he did. He he was disruptive, but at the same time he did bring up interesting issues, interesting matters. So, may mga nagsasabi na may kodigo daw yung isang kandidato. Well, for me, kung kailangan niya ng kodigo, well and good. At least alam natin yung capability niya. Sabi ni Jen Chongson, ibang-iba yung presidential debates noong 2016. Ibang level talaga yon dahil kay PRRD. Well, yeah, because PRRD is a litigation lawyer and a brawler in court. Parang, kumbaga, there are some litigators who, kung itutulad ninyo sa boxing, may mga litigators na brawler. Kumbaga, bardagulan talaga sa hukuman. And hindi sila, kumbaga, they don't restrain themselves. And yung complete yung what we call, kumbaga, they don't give a quarter, tuloy-tuloy yung nila, yung bakbakan, and they're not friends. They're not friendly with the opponents, nothing like that. So, and then there are others who are just really trabaho lang, walang personalan, and it's really all about just the issues, or just the merits of the case, the evidence, the law, and all of that. So merong mga ganon. But si PRRD, when he was still appearing in court, when he was a prosecutor, ano yan, bagdagulan yan, brawler talaga yan, street lawyer. And ang sabi nila, in the different kinds, there are different kinds of lawyers. They're the academics and the ones who appear in appellate practice. They're the ones who establish jurisprudence. They're the ones who become professors and all that, or they're at the level of the professors, the academics. They discuss at length philosophies of the law and all that, and history and so on. And then there are the corporate lawyers, because they rarely appear in court. They're more about how to avoid certain issues. Tax lawyers are the same, so it's a different genre altogether. And then there are the litigators. And ang tawag nila sa amin are the kumbaga trench warfare yan. Kami yung nakikipagbarilan. Kumbaga sa giyera, kami yung talaga in the field, and we shoot at each other. Not literally. So, si PRRD, and I guess to some extent kami, we have always been litigation lawyers. And you can spot how a litigation lawyer will actually respond in a debate format. Same with Dr. Montemayor. We know that si Dr. Montemayor naman, I think he's a medical legal. So he's both a doctor and a lawyer. So he had very interesting insights on that. The other issue of, well, the vice presidential debates naman were also interesting, because the disruptor there was Walden Bello. And well, he certainly made things interesting, but I disagreed with many of the things that with his singling out BBM and Inday Sara, particularly Inday Sara, because he wanted her to be there. It was palpable. It was like, you could taste it in the air that he desperately wanted her to be there. The desperation showed. Kasi nga, he wanted to let her expose herself, tell us what her programs are and all that. It's not like, kasi ganun din dun sa presidential debates, yung mga mahalaga ito kasi dito malalaman yung plataforma, chuchu. That's not true. All of the time constraints indicate that you're not going to be able to give your full platform. The questions are controlled by the hosts, and so do you really get to show your platform? No, of course not. Better to put up a website, put all the stuff that you want to be put in there, and no, and that gives people a fuller view of what you intend to do. These debates are so constrained because nga lalo-lalo na pag televised, mahal ang television hours, mahal ang program hours sa TV. So alam natin that it's not true. Every one of them who said na mahalaga ito para malahad yung mga plataforma and so on. Diyos ko, I can say that forward and backward and still tell them and look them in the eye and say, that's not true. You're not here to give your full platform. You're here to show off, and you're here and show off. So many of them did. The Mayor Isko, and my apologies to him in advance because this might hurt, was acting. This he was turning. He was, I think, talking like Manuel Quezon, if I'm not mistaken, talking like he was cardboard cutout, and saying things like, ano nga ba yan? Wait, I have my notes. Hang on, I can find my notes one of these days. Yung mga sinasabi niya, ayan, 30 to 40 years, problema ng rekto, simula Asuncion hanggang Abad Santos. And it was typical 1950s style oratory. Kulang na naman gagaganon siya. Evita. And he had the hand gestures down. He was talking with a deliberate pace. You could almost time him, but he was acting. He doesn't talk like that. And he tried to speak. We will not fault the grammar. There were a lot of lapses in that, but that's mababaw yan kung yun ang papatulan natin. But clearly he was acting. And that's what the debates were all about. It was all about people showing off, not necessarily what they know or their platforms or paligsahan dito sa pagandahan ng plataforma. Hindi umabot sa ganun na point. It really just looked like people with memorized things saying them out loud in front of a microphone. So, fail. Let me check your questions. Ayan. Dito na lang ako manood sa debate na yan. Kesa sa debate na yan, hindi ko matanggap. Sabi ni Joy Libor de la Fuente, ang mukha sa lugaw. Mahihilo ako kung makinig ako sa salita ng lugaw. You know, she was polished, but it didn't mean that she got rid of her, of her speech mannerisms. Nag-uulit-ulit pa rin siya. Binibilisan lang niya. Sabi ni Frosty, pansin niyo sa tanong na which government agency you like to investigate allegations to corruption, dapat isa lang daw. Siyempre, ang pinigay niya, tatlo. She wasn't the only one, pero as usual, may problema yata si Madam sa numero. Sabi ni Mark Besabe, bakit pa naibasa ni Lenny naka-ready, may advanced questions yata. Well, I'm not sure if she actually had the advanced questions. Maybe she wrote down her thoughts habang nag-iintay dun sa sagot ng mga kasama niya. It's possible. We can always have the good faith belief that she didn't have código or advanced questions. But para sa akin, wala pa ring laman yung sinasabi. A lot of you are saying na may código because you think that she had, yung she, you think that she had done well. I don't agree. Her questions, her answers on foreign policy, they haven't changed. So it's still bad. Sabi ni Man Malin Ortiz Villar, I hate it when some do not acknowledge na nag exist na yung mga projects na binabanggit nila like roads, skyways, etc. Yeah, I agree. And also, they talk as if the country is in such a bad state. Parang, grabe, dukhang-dukha tayo, kulang na kulang ang development projects, chuchu. Kailangan ganito gawin natin. Ang gagaling nila sumagot. But the truth is that this government didn't do too badly. We got through the pandemic with a without a body count that was high in you know that was stratospheric in other countries. Government responses, while a lot left to be desired, it's both a combination of luck and government intervention. na hindi ganun ka ano, masyadong we survived, okay? Uh, si Doc Joey daw is a revelation. Well, yeah, we need to hear more from him. But the thing about this is, it was actually SMNI who said this, is nabigyan ng focus yung mga hindi ganong ka-popular. Kasi ang nagiging popular, the people who are already popular to begin with. They're easier to interview, mas gustong i-interview sila kasi may hatak na audience yan. Pero yung mga walang hatak na audience, they also have interesting ideas. Like ako, I'm still partial to Spock's Abella. Intelligent answers, may framework in mind. Doc Joey, I like kasi he knew how to disrupt. He was, kumbaga, in the unmasking people. So I like that. Yung iba, masyadong, they're stuck in the 50s. In yung ganong klaseng talumpati, kailangan ganitong gawin para sa bayan, chuchu. Kailangan sagutin natin, kailangan iahon natin, and so on. Uh, as if, as if, parang walang ginawa tong gobyerno na to. Sabi ni Adrian Japox, correct me if I'm wrong, si Cheese Escudero ba kasali sa debate o si Isko Moreno? Parang copycat lang. Yeah, but Cheese Escudero is more articulate naman than Isko Moreno. Sabi ni Elda, may 3 hours daw silang nakatayo. Sabi ni FBP, di man lang binigyan ng CNN ng upuan habang break. May upuan sila nasa likod, pwede mo namang gamitin. Magka-high heels ng ganyan. Ito, sabi ni Ma'am Karen, kumusta mo naman yung may pa-comment si Pia na pag nag-fail daw military proposition ni Isko pag nagkagyera South China Sea, backup plan niya? May magiging backup pa ba kung deadball ng mga sundalo? Parang paano lang nalagpasan ni Rizal according to ina nila. I agree. Sa pa yun, medyo, where are you getting these answers? Sa tingin ko kasi is that, ayan, sabi ni Space Audio, I'm sorry, but still no specifics from Lenny. Still those papalaguin natin, dodoblehin po natin, sisiguraduhin po natin. That's true. That's true. Nare-reveal po yung nare-reveal kung ano yung how do you call this? Nare-reveal yung kakulangan din ng detalye. Something that they demand from other candidates but which they are also unable to give. Sabi Dalmasio Awin, bakit nakapag-ready ng resibo si Isko? I'm not sure why. Maybe he really carries it around in his pocket. Because ever since na sinabi nga niya yon na nagbayad siya ng taxes but he didn't return 50 million worth of campaign contributions, I think he's been going around saying, itong resibo, binayaran ko yung tax. As if naman, ito yung masaya dyan eh. Si Isko was bringing out the resibo, but that wasn't the issue. The issue wasn't whether or not you paid taxes on it. The issue is, why didn't you return it? Now, yung tanong mismo ng CNN in that instance was unusual kasi ang sinasabi nila is the BIR said that you can keep the money as long as you pay taxes. That's not true. The BIR has no say in election related incidents. It would have been or it should have been the Comelec who would have made the comment that you can or you may not. But so it wasn't the BIR. The BIR simply said was that we'll collect the taxes on it because taxes are what we call source blind. But Ms. Hontiveros, of course, would not have known that. So, ganito yan, no? Kahit saan nang galing yung income na yan, legal, illegal, you don't even have to explain. Basta babayaran mo yung taxes on that. So it's not limited to campaign contributions. It's any kind of income. You have to pay taxes on that once you exceed a certain amount for every year. So, yun. So, hindi issue yung whether or not he paid the taxes. Of course, you have to pay the taxes. The issue is, why didn't you return it? Or, other candidates naman, they donate. So, ang sasabi, obvious na may mga advanced questions sila. Well, if they had advanced questions, then a lot of them still didn't do well. And I think that, for me, it doesn't matter. I think that once you're standing up there, as long as you're not reading, it's a test. Uh, maano din naman yung mag-memorize eh, but it's a test of how well they do. Sabi ni Ma'am Karen, sa tingin niyo magkakaroon ng settlement for peace at tigil giyera ngayon sa Ukraine-Russian conflict at makikipag-usap na raw sa Belarus ang both parties? I think so. Nobody can afford a protracted war. Neither party, not Russia, not Ukraine. So to head off the sanctions also, Russia can still get what it wants, and it has shown its way. Kumbaga, nagpakitang gilas din ng Russia. No matter what happens after this one, they're going to have to be taken seriously with regard to NATO expansion in the area. Yung parang ano yan eh, parang yung alam mo yung iniinis mo, matagal yung isang tao, inis-inis, kulit, 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 hindi ka pinapansin kasi mahabang pasensya. Tapos, nung pinansin na, binulyawan ka ng bonggang-bongga. Parang ganun yung nakikita ko nangyayari dyan. Wala nga nag-challenge kay Isko about that campaign fund, sabi ni Kian Malagay. Oo nga eh. Tinanong lang kasi ng CNN, sino ang who thinks that these campaign funds should be returned. I will reiterate, hindi po illegal yung ginawa ni Yorme as long as he paid the taxes. Sabi ni Marvel, ano po yung batas kung meron man with regard to excess campaign money? Wala nga po. Baka kasi ginawa lang negosyo ng ibang kandidato. Matagal na po nangyayari yan. Um, Yun, matagal lang nangyayari yan. And ngayon lang tayo na, kayo na bigla kasi eh, it was the first time that one candidate talked about it openly. Dati kasi, hindi pinag-uusapan yan. Parang, yung sikreto na lang. Basta bayad ka ng income taxes, you get to keep it. Tanong nga kay Lenny kung meron siyang excess. Uh, that's why it's good to stay neutral since magkaka-peace treaty naman, sabi ni Hard to be me. Bakit ka pa mamimili ng side? A comment from us doesn't have any effect on the war. It's just mere posturing. Makakasama pa. Sabi ni Nancy Amores Nicole, the sad thing about this kind of debate is that the object of their attack isn't even around, and Bello is like an untamed dog barking at the wall habang nag... Yeah. Sabi ni Dennis Malabed, I didn't get any new and groundbreaking insights from CNN debate. I was looking for deeper ideas and really spontaneous answers. Lahat aral, except for Abelia, Gonzalez, and Montemayor. Sabi ni Juan Sembrano Sasi, just an observation about the 11.7 trillion Lenny Light's foreign debt. Is it right or is it national government debt? Lutang ba talaga? I think hers was a more general answer. It's the difference is, of course, foreign debt can be also from private companies borrowing from other countries. So that could be what they were saying is that the difference. So it's generic. What she was saying is that foreign debt all in all, and then government debt is another thing. Uh, sabi ni I think masyadong mababaw kung yung foreign debt at saka national. Kumbaga foreign debt at saka government debt ang natin. I think it was more I have more issues with her foreign policy than with that one. Merong excess si Lenny, linagay na daw niya sa personal account niya, sabi niya sa interview. Was that excess? I think that what she was saying was that there were contributions na pinasok niya sa personal account niya. She didn't say that it was an excess. Sabi ni Hard to be me, I realize Lenny will be an ineffective leader. She mentioned that she wants to be on the ground on everything. She's a micromanager and effective operation lies in effective delegation. I agree. Sabi ni Marichu Viesca, please like po live ni Attorney Things. Thank you. Thank you. I forgot to ask people to like and share. Bonito Bisnar Michael says, Pacquiao said minimum wages going 750 pesos. Too much to be true. Also, I don't think that he studied the inflationary effect of that. So sige, magtataas nga ang mga wages, pero tataas din ang presyo as a result of that. And it will be an ever-ending cycle na lugi pa rin ang mga manggagawa niyan because fixed ang wages eh. So kahit magtaasan ng presyo all around them, pag tinaasan mo naman yung wages, tataas din yung presyo. So it creates a vicious cycle. So hindi you can't just say na, "Oh, sige tataasan ko yung wages." You have to compute what is going to be the effect on inflation. Sabi ni Tatang Onyok, "Attorney, magka-high heels ba ba kung alam mong tatayo ka for 3 hours for a debate?" First, I rarely wear high heels to begin with. I am not insecure about my lack of height. Second, if my feet hurt, I would have taken off my shoes during the debate itself. Sana, sabi ni Cheryl Samala, nahingan sila ng comment dun sa ginawang pambabato ng flyers kay BBM ng isa sa mga kakamping Paglinawan sa isa sa caravan ni BBM. Well, ako, I agree. Well, something to that effect. More like, when your followers do something wrong, what do you do? Kapag sabihan mo ba? Sabi ni Queen Perlas, "Ma'am, yung friend yung si Danny Javier, Lenlen na. That's not going to affect our friendship. We're mature adults." Sabi ni Marvel, "Is there a chance na may ipasa na batas with regard to excess campaign money o kung meron man nagpasa ng batas before na di na-approve?" Sabi ko na nga sa inyo, wala pong batas. And matagal na po yan nangyayari. And if you think that they wanted to pass a law, it would have been passed a long time ago. They didn't. Sabi ni Vijay, "Hopefully PRRD will finally endorse BBM Sara Unity." Kailangan pa ba? I think that the president has already said that he was going to be neutral. And while we're on the topic, alam niyo yung interview ni Sec Martin with PRRD? I think that it was like a setup. They were trying to bait the president into endorsing somebody else because tignan niyo yung build up. First, yung MRRD endorses Isko. But before that, di ba, marami ng mga Isko Sara and all of that. And then there was a rumor that came out na baka i-endorso ng PDP laban si Isko, si Mayor Isko. And then suddenly, ini-interview si PRRD. Why? Di ba? And why Secretary Andanal? So it looked to me, it felt like a setup na they wanted the president to endorse somebody who was not BBM, not Uniteam. Well, he didn't. He just said that he's going to be neutral, but he did endorse certain senatorial candidates. Okay, wag niyong pansinin po yung troll. Dinidedma dapat po yan. We'll take out the troll later on. Sino po yung pinakamayabang sumagot, sabi ni Bongbong Sara, sa debate ngayon doon sa mga hindi umattend sa SMNI? O nga eh. The irony is, yung halagang debate, mahalagang debate, pero hindi naman sila pumunta sa SMNI. Alam ni Isko na imposible siyang manalo pero panalo siya sa donation, sabi ni RRN Plus. I can't deny that many people will do run for as a fundraising effort, no? Pero I think they're the minority. Bihira po 'yan. Not related, may vid na kumakalat, ask sila sumali sa caravan for 3K for BBM caravan. I hope may check po nila, nakakasira po. Ganito po yun ha, you don't stop at every barking dog. Kung wala naman siyang traction, pero nakikita nyo lang, wala naman silang ebidensya, bakit papatulan natin yung mga ganyan? Yung sa pagpapatol, tapos pinag-uusapan nyo sa labas, that's what happens. That's setting the stage for it to go viral. And then when it goes viral, or pag kumalat siya, now you have to deal with that kasiraan. Wala naman kasing ebidensya yung tao. Not even in some instances, they're not even making any sense. Pero kung papansinin niyo yan, then it's going to do exactly what you feared. For delikadesa, kaya hindi nag-endorse si PRRD pero lahat ng anak. BBM, especially panganay na si Inday Sara, of course. Dapat hindi na pumasok ng trabaho si Calyodi dahil galit na galit siya sa mga kapitalista. Saan nanggaling ang kita niya? Dapat kay Calyodi magtayo ng sarili niyang kumpanya para maintindihan ng mga kapitalista. He's a communist. So, of course, that will be his line. Sabi ni Joshua TV, do you have any info regarding sa laslas sa kamay ni BBM? Guys, please don't insinuate any crimes unless we have evidence of that. Now, nasasabit-sabit daw siya. From what I understand, dun sa mga railings, dahil nakikipagkamayan siya and all that, minsan nasasabit talaga yung arm niya. At dahil mainit, mapawis, it doesn't heal very quickly. Give me a second, my dog's outside. 1 second lang. Oh my gosh. Nasaan yung aking ano? Sorry about that. If I didn't let in the dog, he would have scratched at my door forever. So, okay. Sabi din ni Malin Ortiz Millar, o kung may mamamatay na tao, sino may right mag-decide kung tatanggalin ng life support? What? I don't usually, for, I don't usually deal with topics that we haven't, announced. Pero sige, sige. Last one exception. Life support. Dito wala po tayong euthanasia. Meron lang tayo, we only allow the doctors no extraordinary measures to save the life of person. So do not resuscitate, pwedeng ganon. Pero yung tanggalin yung life support, bawal po sa atin yan. That's murder. Sabi ni Jurgen Ibarra, mas okay yung SMNI debate kasi hindi pinag-usapan o nagparinig sa mga hindi umattend. Pero sa CNN, may parinig sila kina BBM at Sara. Sabi ni Ma'am Inday Bedak, huwag barat sa likes po. Ito, sabi ni J. 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 Viaj. I think the not known candidates got more known, but the known candidates lost further. Game over. Yes, guys like Abelia Montemayor and Manny. Yeah, si Manny Lopez, yeah. I agree. For in the vice presidential debates, Manny Lopez did stand out. It's clear, concise. He had an idea of what he was going to say, which I like. Kumbaga, I also like na pinapansin natin yung mga lesser known candidates because you know what? They take votes away from Lenny, Isko, and all that. They're not taking votes away from BBM. Can the next debate be more about the House? Paano mo babayaran yung mga pangako mo? A lot of things they promised sound very expensive and unrealistic. Especially yung mga sagot ni Isko. And to a large extent, si Lenny, ang hilig nila sa dodoblehin ng budget, handout, 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 dole out, dole out, dole out. Bibigyan natin ng ganito, bibigyan natin. Where is it going to come from? Are we going to raise taxes to raise money for this one? Utang-utang na tayo because of the pandemic. Galit nga kayo na umutang tayo. Ngayon, you're saying that it's not even enough. Kulang, umutang tayo para makapagbigay ng mga tablets, para makapagbigay ng gamot, and all that. Again, hindi perfect yung government response. Pero they criticize this all throughout. Walang humpay na criticism. Ngayon, they agree pala with the giving out of tablets. They agree with all of these things. And sinasabi nila, kulang yung response. Yun na nga, nung umuutang, nagagalit kayo. Nung nagbibigay, sinasabi ninyong kulang. Wala kayong lulugaran. And now, they're doing the exact same thing. Mamimigay, mamimigay, mamimigay. But where's it going to come from? How are you going to raise money for that one? Are you going to borrow or are you going to raise taxes? Sabi ni Freeman, my eyes are shocking because you're live this midnight. Me and my father arguing every day about BBM. In fact, he does not believe in Lenny's brain. Thank God, kaya nakikinig ako for take down notes. Kaya naman. we really have to start talking about the yung sinasabi ng kabila. Halimbawa, si Kiko during the vice presidential debates, he was talking about food security. O sige, if food security is so bad, what did you do when you were in fact secretary for food security? And ano, sinasabi niya may surplus daw na naiwan na pera doon sa ano sa department or sa department niya. There wasn't an actual department, he was cabinet level, but he was sharing a department with the Department of Agriculture. Ang tanong is, nitong ano, pagpasok ni Duterte, maraming utang ang NFA because yeah, they have to, the NFA isn't money making. Talagang magbibigay sila, magbababa, bibili sila ng bigas to help the farmers, bebenta nila ng mababang presyo yan. Or para ano, tapatan yung mga cartels, para tapatan yung pagtataas ng presyo, para yung mga artificial increases in rice, matatapatan yan in certain areas by the NFA. So the NFA is really, ano, it's guaranteed to lose money. Kasi nga, yung job niya is to help stabilize prices at saka bumili ng bigas para may maiimbak for ano for government employees and for what we call the buffer stock in case of a calamity you have enough for 30 days and so on. Anong ginawa ni Kiko noon? Well, I'm not sure if he had anything to do with the NFA, but what I'm sure of is that he was saying may surplus na pera dun sa department niya. Why didn't he ano, offset yung utang ng NFA at the time? So that yung utang na yun, naipon until pumasok si PRRD and we had to pay that off. So, yun ang nakakainis because they talk in generalized statements as if naman hindi natin i-check. Most people, in fact, will not check, but those who are insiders will know. We know for a fact that agriculture sucked big time during the Aquino administration when Kiko was supposed to be Secretary for Food Security. Natigil ba niya yung smuggling ng bigas, ng gulay, yung mga onions and all that? It was rampant. In fact, it started during that time. Bagsak-bagsak ang presyo ng bawang, sibuyas. Meron tayong nagpo-produce tayo ng mga gano'n pero bagsak-bagsak ang presyo. Why would we do that? Why would we import all of these? And hindi lang importation, smuggling pa. So, okay pa yung importation kahit paano, babayad ka ng taripa eh. Pero pagka smuggling, wala tayong kita talaga sa gano'n. Sabi ni Popoy Villa, last night during the debate, napansin ko lang Lenny habang nagsasalita, tumitingin sa notes niya. Okay. Yeshua TV says, I do love how SMNI was first to make a non-biased and neutral presidential debate and inulit-ulit ko talaga. And the good thing is I really admired BBM and how he answered the questions. Actually, I admired both CNN, BBM, sanay na tayo, we've seen him. The thing is, uh, it's better to do, well, even CNN, even SMNI wasn't a debate. It was more like a, parang thesis defense. Yung nandun ka and you're being asked questions by a panel, which I think is better. You're not up against each other directly. Ang taligsahan dyan ay yung pagalingan ng mga sagot ninyo and you could clarify across. So the nice thing about the SMNI debates was that it was a lot more professional in the sense na hindi nagbabardagulan yung mga kandidato. Nothing wrong with the bardagulan naman occasionally, but at least we got to concentrate on foreign policy and things that are not normally discussed because very few candidates can discuss it at that kind of level. Mm. Tama lang na hindi mag-endorso si PRRD, sabi ni RR Andres, para masabing patas ang laban. Sabi ni Leo, did any of the candidates even acknowledge the fact that they were able to hold the debates face-to-face because fear of COVID-19 is lessened with current administration's efforts to control? O nga no, I don't think I heard anything like that. Sabi ni Ronnie Pangan, matagal na po sanang inalis yung import-import na yan. Sana itinuloy na lang ng lahat ng naging presidente ang masagana 99 ni Apo Lakay. Okay, some of these things are controversial. Even si BBM, during my interview with him, ang sinasabi niya was this, we cannot not import. Definitely, we cannot always produce everything that we need. Pero dapat yung ini-import natin, supplementary na lang to what we are already that what we are producing, hindi yung nasasapawan yung mga local production. Kailangan palakasin natin yung local production. We'll still continue to import, but it will not be at this level na mamamatay yung mga local, yung mga farmers natin, mga isda natin, and even mga local manufacturers if of agricultural products. Mm. Sabi ni Robert, posible po ba na manalo si Isko in case na siya ang ma-endorse ni PRRD? Um, the problem is that si PRRD, he's very popular, he's so trusted, but he cannot transfer that to other people. He has been unable to do that. As we can see, he did endorse the candidacy of Senator Bongo, but it didn't gain any kind of momentum, so eventually nag-withdraw siya. It was going to be problematic to begin with. So, um, nakita natin that even with his being a member of PDP Laban could not survive. They could survive their internal struggles, but the lack of a national candidate and the lack of the present crop of people that they had in PDP Laban, they just weren't worth endorsing anymore. Sabi ni Yeshua, it is correct since ang mga nagtatanong ay hindi basta-basta at hindi alam ng mga candidates ang mga tanong at doon mo makikita ang katalinuhan ng bawat isa. Sabi ni Martin Reyes, somebody argued with me when I said di ko feel yung line of questioning kasi di natin alam kung kanino galing, blah, blah, blah. Sabi ko, mas bet ko yung SMNI because it's like professor-student interaction, especially when performing. Carlos showed up, followed up, had follow-up questions. Yeah, I agree with that. We must examine for our own inner selves, sabi ni LMX, our attitude and dispositions, virtues and faults, rather than judging others. What is in our hearts comes out in what and how we speak. Okay. Bobby Fajardo says, just saw it in pictures, but wasn't the crowd replication screens on both sides of the stage distracting for the viewers? Yeah, but that was the least of my worries at the time. Sabi ni Bogardo Milagrosa, last hour, mag endorse si PRRD if bumaba ng rating ang unit team sa siya papasok. I think that we should really stop putting so much pressure on the president to make an endorsement. The unit team is doing well. They don't need the endorsement. Inday, of course, wants her father to endorse BBM. But I think we should all be realistic. It wouldn't be, what is the value of it at this time? Anak niya si Inday. So, kumbaga, when he endorsed BBM, syempre, running mate ng anak mo yun. Alam namang mag-endorso ka ng iba. If he endorses somebody else, gulo. So, isn't it better that he just stays neutral? The UD team doesn't need it. They're doing very, very well. Sabi ni, ano to, ni Ma'am Nancy, Coco has been saying he wanted to handle agriculture when he wins. Ano bang alam niya? Manny Pinyol is the man for the position. Coco o Kiko? Kiko. Okay. Yeah. He styles himself as this farmer, agriculturist, or whatever. It doesn't wash. Just because he became Secretary for Food Security during the Aquino administration doesn't mean that automatically he acquired some kind of expertise. I don't know if he can even grow mongo in a can. So, well, maybe that's not true. Maybe he can grow things, but it doesn't make you a good administrator. It doesn't make you a good vice president or secretary of agriculture or anything like that. What I know is that when you left, the Aquino administration had left a lot to be desired in the agricultural sector. It did not address the smuggling, did not address the prices of rice, did not address the debts that the NFA had incurred. So tell me again, what was it that you achieved? Nako, may troll sinasabing don't need. Ay, nako. Some people will really be bent on, they just want to twist your words around so that they can use it for their own twisted point of view. Uh, Guys, don't flood. Wag naman yung sunod-sunod yung pag-post niyo ng tanong. I'm wondering, sabi ni Jiang Jiang, I'm wondering if questionnaires were requested also kasi parang memorized yung answers. Yeah. Sabi ni Ma'am Annabel, ang galing mo sumagot. Hopefully maging interesado ka sa government position. Sabi naman ni Dan, nag-work na siya sa government dati pero okay na rin sa vlogging sa attorney, at least merong credible person na nakakapag-debunk sa propaganda ng media. Well, not necessarily in the business of debunking anything, but more like clarifying because may times talaga na mali eh. Or they make general statements that they don't, that halimbawa, yung sinasabi nila that the BIR says you can keep the money. The BIR will not be the one to say that. Diba? As long as it is not illegally acquired, no other agency is going to be interested. The BIR is only interested in the taxes that you pay. So, yun, mali talaga sila. And that cannot be left to stand. People might believe that. Sabi ni Vinny's Random Thoughts and PC Repair Shop, as per latest Pulse Asia, halos magkalapit ang ratings ni Inday Sara versus Tito Soto. Let's also campaign for Inday Sara aside from BBM para magkaroon tayo ng unifying president and VP. How to know if may advanced questionnaires kapag English ng English sila Isko at Lenny. Impromptu questions, Tagalog sila sumagot, pero kapag may advanced questions, English. Hmm. Sabi ni Russell Pareha, I watch and follow Luminous because of her pool of vocabularies and idioms. Thank you. It's only the Unity team that has clear plan, the others motherhood statements, sabi ni Viaj. Sabi nga ng kabila, wala daw malinaw. So the problem is they're expecting something to be written down, but BBM is the one na pinakamasipag magbigay ng mga interviews. And to be fair, he's also asked to give interviews a lot. So tingnan lang nila yan. Of course, these people who are saying na wala siyang malinaw na plataforma, they're just too lazy to do the research. Yung pagkuha ba ng Comelec sa Rappler, may contract money involved ba? Bayad from Comelec or for free? I assume it's for free. But still, it's giving them a benefit. Sabi ni Leo Greg Imperial, it will always be Senator Manny Piñol over Senator Kiko on every given Sunday. Yes, but they're not up against each other. Senator Manny, Sec Manny is running for the Senate. Sabi ni Fanny Ramos, kanino po mapupunta yung pera na nakay Isko? Sa kanya po. Okay, ulitin ko. When people give you money for your elections, that's yours. You're supposed to use it for your campaign because that's why people give you money. Now, if hindi mo ginastos yan, nothing in the Comelec rules says that you have to return it. You just have to pay taxes. Ulitin ko po nothing in the rules or in the law says that you have to return excess campaign funds. Ulitin ko po, nothing in the law or in the rules says that you have to return excess funds. Okay? You have to pay taxes because that's a gain, that's income, but nothing says that you have to return it, so you cannot, those questions na saan mapupunta and all that, they're moot. He's keeping it, he can keep it, it's legal. John Matrimonio says, meron pa bang possibility na magkaroon ng neutral panel interview na gaya ng ginawa ng SMNI? SMNI is having a second round for presidential candidates. Sabi ni Makoy, hi, difficult times po ba ang debate? Yeah, because that's what Lenny was implying. Sabi niya, di ba noon, hindi nagpapakita daw si BBM during difficult times. Parang yung ginawa niya, hindi siya nagpakita during difficult times ng SMNI. So ako, I'd say that it was a difficult time. Based on her own based on her own statement. Ako, I disagree with that one, but that's what she said. Sabi ni Arturo Diola, Attorney Trixie, and to all fellow professionals in having PRC license. I don't have a PRC license, no licensure for architecture, and the employers take the bar. My goodness, wag na natin balik si Trillanes na yan. Pahirap ang CPD. Sana ma-shoutout sa Karambola mamayang umaga. Ay, wala po ako sa Karambola mamayang umaga because I'll be going to the DOTR to wish Lolo Art, Sec Art well. At saka si Asek Gades. Is there possibility ba na sali pa din si Lenny sa part 2 ng debate ng SMNI? Well, of course, she's always welcome. I assume. On media being biased, they depict themselves as protecting freedom, but it's now obvious of bending the truth to make the people have the wrong beliefs. Now, who then will check the media? Are they good and righteous? Okay, wait. Walang ganon. There's no morality clause in the freedom of speech. Okay? There's no there's no good or bad or anything like that, because the reason we have media is because it's guaranteed by the constitution na allow ng ating saligang batas na may media. Kaya nga walang licensure yung ating mga journalists kasi freedom of speech yan, that kahit sino pwedeng magpahayag, pwedeng mag-publish. So that is the point. We cannot say patanggal natin yan kasi hindi sila nagsasabi ng totoo. The freedom of speech doesn't even require that we be telling the truth. So that's why you have news outfits that give only a certain angle, that give only a certain side. It's not a bad thing, ha? Because it also works for us. Kaya nga dapat, bawal yung pagpupulis ng fake news, because the freedom of speech doesn't say that you have to be telling the truth all the time. Bawal po is when you tell a deliberate falsehood and cause damage. So kunwari, you libel a person, that's an untruth that causes damage. There are certain exhortations, there are certain things na nanghihikaya tayo na gawin that could be illegal. So gusto natin patanggal sa posisyon yung isang government official o piniprevent natin na magawa niya yung kanyang trabaho, that could be inciting to sedition. So, ang bawal lang po yung mga krimen, speech that is forbidden. Pero there's nothing in our law that says that they have to tell all sides of the story. They claim that that's what they do. So we expose them and say, you're not being objective. Your claim is that you're objective, but you're not. So this is why I think we're calling you out on your bullshit. Oh, sorry, on your on your on your common. Ah, sabi ni Annalisa Labides, pero inis ako kay inay, saka sa mga auditores niya, grabe yung effect niya sa mga pamangkin ko, haha, kainis. Pero darating ang time, makakapag-isip din sila. Sabi ni Terry Anabes, ang saya election sa Pilipinas, maraming na stress, take it easy people. I don't think that words like take it easy or relax or chill or ano, are really welcome when people are enjoying the stress. Sabi ni Storm Basher, tama po ba na lumabag sa constitution natin ang Rappler? Okay, which provision? I mean, they have a lot, but which one? At saka bakit naman sasabihin, tama ba na lumabag sa constitution? I mean, isn't that self-explanatory already? Loaded yung question niya eh. Ano pong sa inyo for somebody aspiring for president na using an idiot board? Alam niyo, there's no training to become president. But we can always demand that our candidates have a certain minimum amount of intelligence. Sabi ni Bing Abloy, sana next election takbo kayo ng vice president ni Sarah. Sorry. Diyos ko. Wala namang ganyanan. Wala po bang magagawa ang government sa mga fact-checkers ko sa FB? Meron magagawa ang government, but the question is, and that's something that we really should consider, why they haven't done anything about it. Congressman Mike Defensor tried in Congress. Secretary Martin Andanan knew what was going on, but he didn't do anything about it. So that's now the question. Yes, they can. The Senate had a hearing under Senator Grace Poe. Napatawag yung Facebook people. They came from Singapore. They went. They were did they ask for anything? I don't think so. Eric Baduds says, is Comelec Chair Jimenez becoming Andy Bautista? Jimenez? Are you talking about James Jimenez? He's not the chair. Hindi ba daw niya gagawin yung, sabi ni Opinionadang Miron. Maganda yung words ni Doc Willie Ong kanina, BBM at Senator Amy sa interview niya. Hindi din daw po niya gagawin yung ginawa sa kanya niyon if mapunta siya sa ganung sitwasyon. Sabi ni R. Andes, nakakabahala yung expose ni Attorney Glenn Chong about Comelec, Smartmatic plus Rappler pa. At yung pag-imprenta daw ng fake ballots with watermarks para basahin ng computer reader machine. Mukhang may advanced questions. What's your opinion regarding the tie-up between Comelec and Rappler? Ay naku, ang dami namin posts dun sa Luminous. So, everybody knows my opinion on this one. Uh, Sabi ni Ra, ano ba ta? The Cause Z. Kalara right. Sana makialam si PRD sa pagkuha ng Comelec sa Rappler dahil ang Rappler ay biased, hindi mapagkatiwalaan. Sabi ni Dan Michael Bahandi Bukoy, okay lang yan if you think about it, may advantage din yung pagkuha ng Comelec sa Rappler on our part kasi nasa isip ng opposition na biased daw ang Comelec at may tao din sumarpa sa loob ng Comelec. Pero because of the move ng Comelec, wala na rin right magsabi ng bias ng Comelec at Rappler nga ang kakampi nilang kinuha, di ba? I think that's a very, ang nipis eh. Yung parang, Comelec gets Rappler para pag nanalo, hindi makakareklamo ang Rappler. What makes you think that it stops Rappler from doing that? Ang point dito is not that Rappler is biased or anything like that. It's that the Comelec is, well, it is, of course. It's that the Comelec is giving Rappler a benefit that it's not giving to others. Why single them out? So, ang sinasabi ng Comelec, pwede naman kahit sino, basta mag-apply sila and all that. But did you tell anybody? I mean, was there an announcement? Did you post anything to say that people can apply to disseminate information? Ang sabi nila, hindi exclusive. Well, I don't see any other media entity trying to break down your door to do this. So again, the question is, why Rappler? Sabi ni Ver Rivalim, we need like you to serve our country. Please run in the Senate. Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Not me. But you see, people whom we think would do very well in the Senate also need to have a lot of people backing them up. Like you need money to run, you need voters and all that. So if you're not that well known, then it's seriously doubtful that you're going to win, and it would just be a waste of resources. So if ever there comes a time when there will be a huge following, and we don't even see that online. I mean, we have a huge following, but not enough to run for the Senate. So we'll just be going to do this because I think that this is as valuable as sitting in the Senate. If ever it happens that there's an opportunity, and I think that a lot of people are going to vote for me, sure, why not? But right now, I don't see that happening. So, and I don't want to waste any resources, whether it's from campaign contributors or myself. We might be, it's like hitting your head on the wall. It doesn't do any, it doesn't hurt the wall, it just hurts you. So, uh, sabi ni Edmond Matyong, what's your stand for imposing tax schedule? Taxes on the Catholic Church. Thanks in advance. Well, we have a freedom of religion, and part of that is, that's why we don't tax the church, not just the church, but all churches, all religions are not taxed. It's not like as if they're getting an outstanding benefit. Well, they do because they're very rich. The Catholic Church is very rich, but it also applies to other faiths, sects, and so on. So it's part of that freedom that we give for people to be able to organize themselves into, based on a particular belief. And by taxing them, that might not be in consonance with that. That's why it's constitutional. We don't oppress a particular religion. We don't let the state establish one either, and they don't give them benefits either. Wala po akong nabalitaan na nanalo sa protesta matapos madaya, kaya dapat mabantayan ng boto if possible todo. Laki na nakihalo ang Rappler. Um, well, unlike you, marami rin naman ako nakikitang nananalo base sa protesta. Pero the best chance you get is kung manalo yan before a candidate is proclaimed, then your chances of, then it's 100% you get to sit. But election, the practice of election law is a different animal altogether. So I realized that the idea of being cheated is always present in any election. But again, we always balance it. Ayoko kasi ng praning. And pagka sobrang praning tayo, hi, pag sobrang praning tayo, it doesn't do well for the confidence of people to vote in elections. Are you coming over here? No, you have to see this guy. Ngayon ka pa na shy. Wow, somebody's shy. Yes, hi. Ngayon ka nahiya. Pag nag interview ako, wala kang ano. Alright, that was my cat. So, hi. Hey, Jack. Okay. So, what else? Okay. Sabi ni Dan Michael, ang bababaw daw ng mga questions. Yeah, well, I agree. Nakakatawang hinaharap nila si BBM pero wala naman sila sa unang debate, lalo si Lenlen. Sabi ni Gemini 02, ano po ang isang characteristic ng isang susunod na pangulo ang hinahanap ninyo as a voter? Sabi ni Ma'am Karen, Inglesero daw yung cat ko. Lahat po ng pets ko, Inglesero. I don't know why. Okay. Anyway, na-distract ako kay Jack. That's his name, is Jack. So anyway, what am I looking for? Well, leadership is number one. It's you can have a president who's very intelligent, but nobody wants to follow him, so that's problematic. Empathy is another, that he must understand what people are going through. You're going to have to make policies or implement policies. And as the leader of the nation, some of that implementation is going to be hard. Yung, yung, you're going to have to tell people, for instance, that there's some things that they cannot do or they can do. And yung mga cannot do, medyo mahirap yan. Ang sutil-sutil natin as a nation. Tingnan niyo yung pandemic. Buti nga sa atin, medyo tinanggap natin yung mga face masks. Pero ang sutil natin about social distancing and all of that. And we need somebody who people will want to follow and who will be able to also tell people, no, wait, only this and not much more. So, or yung mga instances like, I'm sorry, I understand your situation, but this is the rule. Parang ganon. So, part of our problem in this country is discipline. So, in order to make sure that the citizenry are disciplined, then you have to have a leader who shows that one, that discipline is important, and two, that it's going to be imposed evenly. There will be no exceptions, or that there will be few exceptions. At least not enough exceptions so that the people feel demoralized that, yeah, para sa amin ganito yung rule pero para sa iba hindi. Sabi ni Leo Greg Imperial, sana gumawa ang next administration ng Department of Subjugation and that you can be the secretary para mapakalma niya kami. Yung subjugation, parang kasama naman ng tunog nun. Parang parang colonization, di ba? Yeah, there are things that we get angry about, and kumbaga, let's deserve the passion for that. So, nag-apply daw ang SMNI sa Comelec para maging partner din sa eleksyon. Pag tinabla ng Comelec ang SMNI, pwede bang sampahan ng kaso ang Comelec dahil exclusive lang sila sa Rappler? Yeah. Sabi ni Dangel Songku, yeah. You just described PRRD. That's true. Oo nga, no? I wasn't thinking of that. I was just thinking of in the future. But you're right. Diba sumusunod tayo sa kanya because we want to. Yeah, we want to. We love this guy. Sabi ni Ma'am Karen, natawa ako sa cat niya, nahiya. Thank you for being so diligent during your lives. Parang natawa ako sa pagbati ng ina nila ng ducks for Lenny sa Iloilo. Di niya alam ibig sabihin ng duck. Sana all Inglesero pets. Sabi ni, hard to be me. Do you think an org like the Catholic Church, led by a foreign country, commenting, endorsing candidates on our election is a form of another country tampering with our elections? Well, it would be that if it was the Vatican that was directing it. But the Vatican has been clear, the Pope has been very clear that the priests are not supposed to involve themselves in the in politics. Tapos na po yung panahon ng liberation theology and all that. And sinasabi din naman ng mga bishops is that these are opinions expressed by priests and bishops, but these are personal opinions and not opinions of the church. So and let's not go all the way to the Vatican here. Let's not put it at the level of international relations. It's really yung mga sutil din natin ng mga pare. Sana merong test sa mga tao na gustong tumakbo as president para malaman kung may alam ba sila. Well, I think that's what the interviews and all that are for. Quick question lang, sabi ni Scarface. Tingin niyo po sa susunod na eleksyon may chance si Amy mag-VP kay Mayor Sara? I think traditionally, the the Filipinos, they like balance. So pag may tumatakbo na babae, dapat lalaki yung VP. So it's tignan nyo, pagka yung tandem babae, lalaki, babae o babae, lalaki, whichever the position is, um, the we respond to that kind of pairing. So, yung dalawang babae might be a difficult sell. I'm not saying it's impossible. It will also depend kung ano yung performance ni Senator Amy, how she does in the next 6 years. Malay nyo, ma-overcome din natin yung need natin for balance of that sort. Anything can happen. Uh, Sabi ni Clark Sam, free TV in 18 months will be on digital soon. DWIZ at SMNI will be also having free TV. See you soon. Baka puntahan ka namin dyan. See you po. Yes, DWIZ, well, the station is getting ready. The TV station will also be in the same building, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we'll probably see you on television. I hope. Okay, last few questions. Dapat may tanong kanina na ganito, sabi ni Fly, Drive, Cruise, and some plants. If BBM wins in this election, will you truly support him to make this great nation great again? Baka naman umiyak yung ibang kandidato. Grabe naman ngayon. Sabi 90% of the population, sabi ni Yuna Jane Huson, is in class C, D, and E. Whoever is active in SNS probably are the five. SNS. Probably are the 5%. What makes us think that it can affect that voting population? May debate man or wala. Sabi ni Dan Michael, best example niya is ERAP. Walang debate-debate yon. Oh, by the way, si Pinoy, hindi rin nag-attend ng debate, pero nanalo pa yung miles away. I agree. I think. Or that the debate should be brought to where the CD and E are. If they're not online, but that's not true. I remember nagka-pandemic tayo. So a lot of people went online. Not a whole lot because galing-galing ng internet services natin. But I think that there's, kumbaga, we're increasing in that number. But I think you're right. In the end, it's the majority, diba, that will have an opinion, a say in this one. And well, we will see how it goes. I think the CDNE, remember that the votes of PRRD were across the board. He had A, B, C, D, E all the way. So with BBM, I'm surprised to see that he has both A, B, and CDE. So it's very similar. But you're right in saying na ito yung value ng debate. And the value ng debate ay para dun lang sa mga tao who can watch it. Sabi ni Mang Kanor Midnight, kahit magaling ka sa debate, kung di ka sikat sa social media, kung kulang ka sa mga propagandists, hindi ka mananalo. Why do you use the term propagandists? It's so loaded. Are you trying to imply that people who endorse a particular candidate are automatically propagandists? And what is your definition of a propagandist? Normally, we use the term when it is government that is disseminating particular information that is more on the level of advocacy. Propaganda, for instance, was essential during the war. So, syempre, yung ginagawa halimbawa, remember Tokyo Rose? Pati may Vietnam Rose din nun sa sa US soldiers. So Tokyo Rose would send out messages to the soldiers, the American soldiers in the Pacific, precisely to demoralize them. Now that's propaganda. So what are you gonna, kasi either nadadala ka dun sa mga trolls ng kabila who call everybody who endorse a particular candidate that they don't like automatically a propagandist. So why are you using that term? I don't understand. When propaganda is primarily government sponsored. Kami nga nagsasabi, propagandista para kay Duterte. But propagandists usually are government, are already with government. So it's a government effort. Are you implying that there are certain people under the government payroll? In which case, then you're making an accusation that you're going to have to prove. Sabi ni Ma'am Karen, pero seryoso, attorney, hindi naman sa sinasabi ng Luminous fans na ayaw na namin mag-live kayo. Pero if ever the Filipinos will convince you to run in the Senate, OFWs pa lang like me, desperado talaga sa brilliant mind sa legislation. Pwede namang Senator Saint. Sige, ko-consider natin. Basta nandun pa rin yung sainthood. Why do you think we are not building permanent evacuation sites who are disaster prone since we spend billions yearly on calamities? Because the calamity response has been largely ad hoc in this country. So why haven't we been building please don't get me started on this one. A lot of people don't understand about disaster relief and the disaster responses. That's why we had the disaster called Yolanda, not the storm, but the government response to it. It was headed by a certain Marlo Has. Also, a lot of our so-called disaster response is so politicized, so highly politicized. The politicians want to be seen handing out. Now, now, I'm not saying that everybody who handed out relief goods are evil people or who are nananamantala lang dun sa sitwasyon. Pero what I'm saying is that a good disaster response is institutionalized. And the first time that these things have been institutionalized were in the Duterte administration. And while it's true, inumpisahan yan during the Aquino administration, it was under Duterte na we already stopped asking for foreign aid, asking for donations and all that. Kumbaga, the efficient use of our funds, ramdam na ramdam under the Duterte administration. So I think that's it. It's really about political will. One last, I want you to remember is that did you notice na pag nagla-live si Presidente, he will say things. O sige, gawin natin ganito, may pera naman. Or hahanap ako ng pera and so on. Which is so different from previous administrations, notably the Aquino administrations and a lot of those that were in between. Na every time we said something, kailangan may ganito. Alam mong sasagot, walang pera para dyan. And so many congresses are guilty of this. Walang pera para dyan. This president was the first to say, hahanap ako ng pera. Or, may pera naman, gawin natin yan. And I think I want a president who's going to do that. I see it in the uni team. That's why Inday Sara is there. Siya yung continuity. And last, di ko makita kay Lenny ang sincerity sabi ni Gemini. Evil laugh. Lagi kasi ang nakikita ko. MJ O'Malley says, and I believe 4Ps can be more helpful if converted to a permanent house rather than giving it to the beneficiaries directly in cash. Iba pa po. We have no housing programs. But these housing programs aren't handouts. You're going to have to pay for them eventually. The 4Ps are for those who talagang sad-sad. No source of income, no nothing. And what the 4Ps does is, different po yung 4Ps natin under the Duterte administration as compared to the Aquino administrations and the Gloria administration because they're anchored on number of children, whether or not you have work, and the ages of the children. So it's about that. It's You noticed how several of the candidates were saying we have to yung matutulog ng gutom, masakit ang tiyan dahil walang hapunan and all that. The only one who was serious about addressing hunger was Fox Abella, by the way. But the others, they were using hunger and the poor like props in a bad TV show. Na, oh, kawawa naman the poor and all that. Uh, but that's what the four Ps are doing. They're supposed to address those that are at the level of absolute poverty. So hindi rin kasi natin pwedeng pabayaan. We cannot allow people to go hungry, and that's what the four Ps does. It doesn't it's not an absolute, how do you call this, solution. It's supposed to be temporary. So it's supposed to be to help that the kids get to finish their education and all that. We need more programs. But I think that what we need are more creative programs that don't involve just a simple dole out, a simple handout. And there are programs for housing. So let's not mix up those two. The iba po yung ina-address ng 40s. Kawawa si Lenny, walang pera siya ang magbabayad ng trillion na inutang ng build, linyahan ng dilawan, sabi ni Crisanto Cuenca. Well, name me a government that has not incurred any loans, and I'll tell you a government that has been inefficient. And I'm going to show you a government that has been inefficient. So, on that note, okay, sabi ni Jessie Gali, BBM handled it well nung pagtulungan siya ni Cayetano at Lenny last 2016 vice presidential debate. Surprised ako si Trillanes at very tame to BBM. Wala kasi siyang reason to be to be aggressive. Alam mo naman yan parang minsan parang jokes box. Ay, it's a joke, jukebox. Hulog ka ng coin. I'm kidding. I think. Sabi ni Roger Camba, we need more hospitals to be built. Also, RITM for Visayas, RITM for Mindanao, especially region. RITM, by the way, is research. It's a research institution on tropical medicine, not an infectious diseases hospital. What we need is our facilities for infectious diseases all over the country. Na nagawa natin ito for tuberculosis. I think we just need to expand that. And you know, we need more doctors actually. We need more healthcare professionals. More talaga. So let's see what we can do to help. Ito ha, this is also another reminder before we go. Elections about being asked. Tayo na yung tinatanong. What do we want? What are we going to do? And so on. However, remember that once we put them in office, our obligation does not end. Our obligation to the country doesn't end. That's why with many of our candidates, we ask, what can we do to help? If you're elected, what do you want us to do for you? So far the clear answers have been primarily from Spox Abella and from BBM. BBM says, national consciousness, be aware of your Philippine-ness. Spox Abella, along similar lines, the usual obligations of a citizen, pay your taxes. There's not much more required, but then you can also do volunteer work. So, maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay. Uy, huwag kakalimutan, mag-like and share na ba kayo? Huwag mong kakalimutan din mag-follow dun sa Luminous by Trixie Cruz-Angeles sa namin Paglinawan dito sa Facebook natin. Uy, check nyo naman kung naka-follow pa rin kayo. Yung hindi pa po nagsusubscribe sa ating YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Don't forget to subscribe. Ang daming new names and faces na nakikita. Faces, no? New names and yes, faces. Dito sa mga nagtatanong, maraming salamat po. Hindi ako nakapag-live masyado during the past week. Bukas wala po ako sa Karambola or mamaya wala po ako sa Karambola kasi nasa DOTR nga po ako. But mag-live tayo tomorrow our after we wish Sec Art well. Parang naiiyak ako. Parang di ba yung mga constant sa buhay natin, PRRD, Lolo Art. Parang aray. Di pa yata ako ready. Um, and sabi ni Scarface, always karambola and luminous. And I hope we strengthen our research and development in all industries here. Sabi ni Yuna J. Huson, to be in the global business scene. And daming talented sa atin and will be supported and funded by our government. Keep your fingers crossed with the right leader. Maybe we're going to get there. Or at least, get started. Kasi ang tagal natin hindi umabot sa ganun. Thank you very much for for being with me in this unholy hour. It's 1:53 a.m. Papasok pa tayo. We'll spend a little time in Karambola, but we'll have to leave really early. So maraming salamat. See you tomorrow on Karambola, and I think Attorney Ahmed will be taking over Tambayan. We'll see you then. Thank you very much.